You ever have one of those days where a stranger just looks at you and decides you're their new arch nemesis? Yeah, that's exactly how this circus started. Leaning on a shovel, sweat pouring off me, and this woman yelling across the street like I was some lazy city worker milking the clock on her dime. She's got that look, head cocked, lips pursed, red tracksuit, so tight it's basically a warning sign. And she's shouting, "Hey, you landscaper, my tax dollars don't pay for you to lean on that shovel." I just blink, stunned, then sort of laugh and try to play it off. "Ma'am, this is my house. I just moved in." But it's like I told her I was building a missile silo. She just stares, mouth twisted up, and sneers, "There goes the neighborhood." And with that, she spins around and storms off like she's just closed the case of the century. You'd think that'd be it, right? Just another weird neighbor story to tell at Thanksgiving. Nope. I'd barely finished packing up my tools before she was back, marching across the street with a look that says, "I want to speak to your manager and also burn your house down." Now she's yelling about how my digging is an eyesore and an HOA violation. I try to explain, I'm fixing the drainage in my own yard. But that just kicks her drama into high gear. Next thing I know, she's flopping onto my lawn like she's in a soap opera, screaming that I pushed her and dialing 911, wailing about how the violent, angry man across the street attacked her. You ever stand there, muddy boots, shovel in hand, watching a grown woman stage a Broadway audition on your grass? Yeah, that happened. 3 minutes later, here come the patrol cars of me own officers, Miller and Shunn. They roll up calm and professional, but you can see them scanning the scene. Her shrieking, me standing there, totally still. Miller's got that face that says he's seen too much already. "Ma'am, what seems to be the problem?" She launches into her performance about being attacked. They look at me your side. I explain calm, hands visible. I was here doing yard work. She came over, started yelling, then threw herself down. Miller glances at her spotless red tracksuit. Funny how you don't get a speck of dirt on you during a violent fall. And then at me. Then comes the moment. He checks my ID, realizes exactly who I am, and suddenly the energy shifts. "We didn't realize it was you, sir." Karen's face does a whole Olympics of emotion, confused, then furious, then, "No, you're the gardener." Miller cuts her off, lays out the facts, and lets her know filing a false police report is a real, actual crime. She hisses, "You haven't heard the last of this," and stalks away, swearing she's got a lawyer. I should have felt relief, but that's not how these things go. You know what I mean? A couple days later, I get a certified letter, fancy stationery, lots of legal jargon, the works. It's from Franklin Thorne, ESQ, her lawyer demanding everything from a public apology to a no police zone around her property, claiming I've created a hostile environment. The kicker? He wants me to step down as chief of police. You couldn't make this stuff up. But something feels off, so I do a little digging of my Ono record of Franklin Thorne at the Bar Association. The law office address is a fancy building that's never heard of him. Turns out, her lawyer is her own son, a law school dropout, cosplaying as an attorney from her basement. It's almost funny until you realize they're trying to ruin my career. My sister Maya, who's an investigative reporter, jumps in, starts running backgrounds. My dada, retired judge, pulls up as my personal legal consultant. We've basically got a family war council. Dad says, "Do not take the bait. Let them come to you." So I install cameras, keep records, and just wait. Meanwhile, Karen doubles down, spreading rumors on the neighborhood page, painting me as a corrupt cop with bribe money and a buried body in the yard. Neighbors start giving me the cold shoulder, people whisper and cross the street. I want to fight back, but I remember Dad's advice, the model citizen. So I keep my head down and build an evidence file that's thicker than the HOA's bylaw book. The HOA harassment campaign gets wild fines for my garden hose, pollen on my window, a 2-round decorative rock. Every time, I pay the fine, send a polite note, document everything. My next-door neighbor, all a gearhead with a '68 Mustang and zero patience for nonsense, keeps me in the loop, and even hands over footage from his garage camera showing Karen's original Oscar-winning performance on my lawn. He's my lifeline to sanity, and quietly, more neighbors start to see the real problem isn't me. Then Maya's digging uncovers the twist no one saw coming. Karen isn't even Karen. Years back, she was married to a mob accountant who flipped and put the whole family into witness protection. Her real name, sealed court files, the works. After her husband died, she and her son left the program, but instead of laying low, she went full HOA tyrant, making herself a beacon for exactly the kind of trouble she was supposed to be hiding from. All those weird name changes, the paranoia, the obsession with control, survival instincts turned inside out. I serve her with a real lawsuit for defamation, no more games, just facts and signatures. That's when she finally snaps. Caught on camera, she tries to frame me for vandalism by smashing her own window with a rock from her garden, then calls 911 screaming that I tried to kill her. Only this time, every second is on video, 2 angles, crystal clear. The police roll up, and I meet them with the footage ready to play. They shake their heads in disbelief. I call a family meeting. We lay out everything. The fake legal threats, the campaign of harassment, the criminal impersonation, the mob past. This is now a federal matter. My dad says, your first call in the morning is to the U.S. Marshals. They swoop in, quick and quiet. And just like that, Karen and her son are Ganino handcuffs, no scene, just 2 unmarked cars and a silence that's almost spooky. The lead marshal tells me, you have no idea how deep this goes. Her husband was the personal launderer for the head of the syndicate. And before he flipped, he had a daughter no one could ever find. Karen found her and used her as leverage. My stomach turns over. This whole Messer war on you is just the surface. Underneath, it was about secrets, leverage, and a family running from their own past. A couple weeks later, Karen's house is sold. The HOA elects Al as president and burns the old rule book in his driveway. The neighborhood breathes again. No one knows where Karen went or what happened to her son. The government's good at making people vanish, one way or another. But sometimes at night, I sit on my porch and think about how one woman's hate almost wrecked a community and how, in the end, her worst enemy was always herself. So what do you think? Was I right to wait her out, or should I have fought back sooner? Drop your thoughts below. Tell me if you've ever run into a neighbor like this, or what you'd have done in my shoes. Let's get this debate going. Who's right, who's wrong, and what does justice really look like when the whole neighborhood is watching? So after that wild takedown, Karen and her son gone, Al voted in as HOA president, the whole neighborhood breathing a little easier. You'd think maybe, just maybe, my life would get back to normal, right? That's what I told myself every morning when I opened the blinds, looked out across my now peaceful street, and saw nothing but sun-drenched lawns and the Mustang in Al's driveway. For a while, it did seem like the madness was over. I finished the French drain, got the grass growing again, even started saying hi to the new neighbors who moved in with their 2 little kids, waving every morning like I was the world's friendliest police chief. But you know how it goes, peace in suburbia never lasts, especially when the neighborhood's just gotten a taste of scandal, and there's always someone itching to stir things up. It started subtle first. A string of anonymous letters showed up in a few mailboxes on the block. Typed and signed, weirdly formal, like someone Googled passive-aggressive complaints and copy-pasted the results. Certain parties in our community have brought shame upon us all. One of them read, remember, integrity matters. There wasn't a single name mentioned, but everyone knew who they were talking about. I found mine stuffed behind my storm door one morning, the paper trembling in my hand. For a second, I laughed. I figured, limb talk, I got bigger fish to fry. But I kept it, just in case. Never hurts to build a paper trail, right? Al, bless him, decided his first act as HOA president after that glorious bonfire of Karen's bylaw book would be to hold a real community cookout. Not one of those starchy HOA meetings with folding chairs and watered-down coffee, but a full-on block party burgers and ribs, music, kids running wild in the cul-de-sac. The idea was simple. Give folks a chance to actually meet each other again, to reset the mood. I offered to help, figuring the best way to move past the drama was to show everyone I was just another neighbor. We spent a whole Saturday grilling, laughing, and for the first time since I moved in, nobody seemed tense. But even as the smoke curled up into the summer sky, you could feel there were still whispers, little pockets of side-eye, people talking in low voices and glancing at my house. I didn't blame them. After everything, trust takes a while to regrow, just like grass over an old scar. Meanwhile, Maya was still on her reporter grind. She couldn't let the whole Karen story go, not after uncovering a trail that twisted from HOA drama to witness protection to organized crime. She started poking around the edges, nothing official, just a journalist's curiosity, asking old sources if anyone had heard anything about Karen or her son resurfacing somewhere new. She called me late one night, the kind of hour only siblings call each other, and said, there's talk Karen might have cut a deal with the feds after all. She gave him the location of that missing ledger, maybe more. I just grunted, said I hoped wherever she ended up, it was far from here. But Maya was on fire. She said, you realize if that ledger really exists, it could bring down people way bigger than Karen. Your little HOA showdown might have kicked off something nobody in this town's ever going to read about. She paused. How's that for a butterfly effect? But honestly, most days, I just wanted my life back. The department was still running smooth, though the mayor was more interested than usual in how I was settling into the community. HR started sending me to those community trust-building seminars like I needed a crash course in neighborly behavior. I took it on the chin, smiled, nodded, said all the right things, but there was this gnawing tension I couldn't shake. I knew the next storm was always brewing somewhere out of sight. It finally broke one Saturday morning, about a month after Karen vanished. A black SUV, government plates, parked down the block. Two men in conservative suits and sunglasses walked up my driveway. I stepped outside, coffee in hand, not sure if I should laugh or brace for impact. Chief, the taller one said, we're with the Marshal Service. We'd like a word. Turns out they weren't here about Methy. We're looking for information, a routine debrief. Wanted to know if Karen had ever mentioned anything about missing money, safe deposit boxes, anything unusual about her movements. I told them everything I knew, which wasn't much, honestly. They asked about Franklin too, but I just shook my head. As they left, the taller one paused and said, you did the right thing. Not every neighborhood squabble gets this complicated, but you handled it. That was probably the closest thing to an apology I'd ever get from Uncle Sam. After that, things actually settled. The grass kept growing. Al started organizing classic car meets on Saturdays, and my security cameras gathered nothing but footage of stray cats and the mailman. Still, a part of me stayed on edge, like the calm after a hurricane, when you're just waiting for the next weird thing to blow in. Every now and then, I'd get a letter, never threatening. More like a nudge from the city manager, from the mayor, once from a random law firm checking if I'd ever received harassing correspondence. I kept them all in a folder, just in case. You never know when the past is going to boomerang back. And then just when I'd almost forgotten the taste of adrenaline, there was a knock on my door one evening. I opened it to find a teenage girl standing there, nervous, clutching a battered envelope. You're the chief, right? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She said her name was Rachel. She looked nothing like Karen, but something in her eyes, well, I felt a chill run down my spine. She explained she'd recently found out her real father's name, that someone had tried to contact her about some family business. She'd gotten scared, started looking for help, and found my address buried in a stack of old documents. My mom told me you might understand, she said quietly. And just like that, the whole chain of events came full circle: the ledger, the syndicate, the ghost Karen left behind. I brought her inside, called Maya and my father, and within hours we were right back in detective mode. Only this time, the stakes were even higher. What started as a turf war with an HOA tyrant had become a real-life game of cat and mouse, secrets and shadows, a puzzle with a new innocent caught in the crosshairs. And, as I sat there listening to Rachel talk, I realized some stories just refuse to end. They twist, they echo, they reach out and grab you when you least expect it. So here's my question. For everyone who made it this far, what would you do if the past showed up on your doorstep, needing your help? Would you turn away, or would you get involved, even if it meant putting yourself back in the line of fire? Let me know down in the comments. Let's hear your stories about community, about right and wrong, about what justice really means when it isn't as simple as calling the cops or paying a fine. Because in the end, we're all just trying to do the right thing, even when the story keeps rewriting itself long after we think the credits have rolled.